Hello, good morning. Good morning. Today my lecture is on fracture neck of femur. This is for batch 2018. And before we know about the fracture, we will know a little bit about the epidemiology of fracture neck of femur. As all of you know, it is a fracture in elderly. Typically, neck of femur result from low energy fall and associated with osteoporosis. So, fracture neck femur is a fracture of osteoporotic patient. It is more common in osteoporosis, and in a young, typically fracture neck femur result of it is a result of a high energy mechanism, and other associated injuries are common associated with fracture neck of the femur. Mostly, it is a intracapsular, and it compromise blood supply of head of the femur. So that's why it is very important fracture neck of the femur, because it compromise the blood supply of head of the femur. We will discuss later in the complication. And what are the risk factors that are associated with fracture neck of the femur? Which patients are more at risk for developing fracture neck of the femur? As we have seen, the osteoporosis is one of the risk factor. The other risk factor is female, who are more prone for fracture neck of the femur. Then white race, and increasing age, elderly are more prone. Then poor health, tobacco and alcohol users, they are more prone for fracture neck of the femur. And any previous fractures and history of fall history and low estrogen level in female or postmenopausal, they are more prone for fracture neck of the femur. Then is the little bit about anatomy, about the fracture neck, about the neck of the femur. As all of we are aware of the anatomy, it is the upper femoral epiphysis closes by age of 16 years, and neck shaft angle 130 plus minus 7, and femoral anteversion 10 plus minus 7. It is more important from an orthopedician to know what is the neck shaft angle and what is the femoral anteversion. That is the three ligaments that attach in this region. They are important for us because whenever there is a fracture, there is a displacement of the fracture. So the three ligaments, all of you aware, iliofemoral, pubofemoral and ischiofemoral. Then is the calcar femorale is a very important structure, which is a vertically oriented plate from the posterior medial portion of the femur and shaft radiating superiorly toward the greater trochanter from here. And this is a calcar femorale, it's important structure in the fracture neck of the femur. And the blood supply of the head of the femur, mainly because of a little bit about blood supply, not going to detail, just we will know about what are the major contributors, that is the medial and lateral circumflex, of which the medial femoral circumflex is a main blood supply of head of the femur. Some contribution to anterior and inferior from lateral circumflex. Actually what happens is medial and lateral circumflex femoral arteries, they give ascending branches at the base of the neck which go upward into the head, and they form a plexus around the head. From intracapsular plexus is formed by these vessels, these cervical branches. Some contribution is coming from inferior gluteal artery, small insignificant supply. There is a small contribution is coming from ligamentum teres, and the other blood supply is from the endosteal blood supply, which is coming from the endosteum. So that's why when there is a fracture, this endosteal blood supply 100% it get interrupted. And the second most important blood supply, that is from the medial and lateral femoral circumflex artery, that also got sometime kinked, or it get disrupted because of the fracture, because of the displacement of the fracture. The blood supply get kinked off. So this is a diagrammatic presentation of the blood supply of the head of the femur. And the other important anatomical point that we should know about it is the trabecular pattern in the proximal hip, because there are two types of trabeculae mainly, the principal compressile and extensile group of trabeculae. They are you can see in the diagrammatic presentation the principal compressile, then is the principal tensile, then is the secondary tensile, and then is the secondary compressile group of trabeculae. These are the trabeculae which we can see on X-ray also. And the classification of the fracture neck of the femur. Before going into the sign and symptoms, we will see about the classification. Classification is on the classification by location of the fracture. It is the Gardens by location of. It can be classified by the location of the fracture, by the Gardens classification, by the Powell's classification, by the location of the fracture. We can classify it subcapital. You can see it is just near the head, subcapital, transcervical in middle of the neck, transcervical, and basis cervical, that is at the base of the neck. So the prognosis will depend. Classification is for management as well as for the prognosis. So prognosis will depend upon the fracture, whether it is a subcapital or basis cervical. In subcapital, the prognosis is poor. Chances of AVN are very high in subcapital and they are less in basis cervical. That's why the classification. Next classification is Gardens classification, which is most commonly used classification. It is based on the degree of the displacement. Gardens classification is based on the anteroposterior pelvic radiograph X-ray. It is based on the X-ray classification. How it looks like. If you get an X-ray, stage 1, that is incomplete. There are 4 stages of fracture neck femur in Gardens classification. Stage 1 is incomplete fracture line. There is a valgus impaction. Stage 2 is a complete fracture line. It is not displaced. Fracture line is complete in stage 2, but it is not displaced. It is undisplaced. Okay. Then in stage 3, there is a complete fracture line, and it is displaced, but not completely displaced. Some part of this is still attached posteriorly with maybe some capsule or some bit of bony alignment, bony structure is still there attached with this posteriorly. And in stage 4, it is a complete fracture line with complete displacement. That is, the head get completely separated from the rest of the neck. That is called stage 4 classification. Similarly, you can see diagrammatic presentation. Stage 1 is an incomplete fracture line, valgus impaction. Here, if you get an X-ray, if you see on the X-ray, then you will see in stage 1, if you see I told you the trabecular pattern, which was there of the trabeculae of the acetabulum, that is the trabeculae of the head and the remaining part of the neck. In stage 1, all these 3 trabeculae, they will align with each other. In stage 2, the acetabular, head and neck, they will not align because the head get displaced. Stage 2, but still there can be some contact with the neck and the head. So there can be some alignment with the head and the neck, but there will not be any alignment with the head and the acetabulum. And then is stage 3. As I told you, stage 3 is a complete fracture, and there is a almost complete displacement. Just a bit of attachment is there. There is complete tilt of the head. Because of that, the trabeculae which are there in the acetabulum, head and the remaining part of the neck, all these trabeculae, they are not in line with each other. They are totally out of the line. Now the interesting thing is in stage 4. What happened in stage 4? The complete fracture and completely displaced. So when the fracture is complete, the head again get displaced from the remaining part of the neck, and it get dislodged. It goes into the acetabular cavity. So what happened? The trabeculae of the acetabulum and the head, they get aligned, but they are not aligned with the remaining part of the neck. So it is a stage 4. So next classification is Powell's classification. This classification is based on the angle the fracture line makes with the reference to the horizontal line. So this type 1 is fracture. Fracture is between 0 and 30 degree in reference to horizontal. Type 2 is between 30 to 50 degree in reference to the horizontal line, and in type 3 is more than 50 degree. So again, it is a prognostic bad. More the fracture angle, more is the bad prognosis for the fracture. So this you can see in diagrammatic presentation, more fracture line. So how diagnose a fracture neck of the femur? So diagnosis is based on, of course, on history. There can be a history of fall. In elderly patient, there may not be any history of fall at all. There can be just little bit of twisting of the leg with a force, with external rotation at the hip. Just a little bit of external rotation at the hip and twisting of the leg. There can be a fracture of neck of the femur. Of course, in elderly, this is in elderly and osteoporotic. In a young patient, of course, it needs a force to fracture the neck. Here there can be a history of fall. There can be a history of fall directly on greater trochanter, or there can be a roadside accident, there can be anything where sometimes this fracture neck femur is associated with other fracture, such as fractured neck, fracture shaft of the femur. It's very common with fracture shaft of the femur. So we have to see, we have to ask the history, relevant history regarding this. Then when we examine the patient, before doing diagnosis, we have to examine the patient. We will see that if the fracture is completely displaced, if it is Gordon type 3 and Gordon type 4, on examination, obviously, patient will give you some symptoms before you examine. That there can be history as I've told you, there can be history of twisting of the leg, or there is a roadside accident. Patient will say there is a pain in the hip region, but this pain may not be that much. Sometimes pain is not that much, but then you examine clinically. Clinically, the fracture, if it is type 3 and type 4, it means there is a complete fracture. The limb will lie in external rotation and it will be slightly shortened as compared to the normal side of the limb. So then you have to examine, then you have to see for the limb which you suspect is to be fractured as for the history. Then subject the patient for radiographs. Then on the radiographs, what you see, then is history is a traumatic events. As I've already told you, history of a traumatic event with exception to patient who have a stress fracture. In stress fracture, there will not be very significant history. Young patient with high energy femur fracture have associated injuries. There is a missed fracture, sometime may be disastrous. And then is the physical examination. As I've told you, on examination it will be slightly shortened, limb will be shortened and externally rotated. And radiographs, then the next comes the important thing is the radiograph of the X-ray. There are 3 views that we should get in X-ray to diagnose the fracture neck of the femur. One is of course standard anterior-posterior panoramic view, that is X-ray, pelvis with bilateral hip, AP view. Then the other view is cross table, that is the lateral view you have to get a lateral view of the affected hip. And the third is the most important that is the traction view. You have to give a little bit of traction to the limb and you have to rotate 15 degree internally to see for the fracture line. So the entire femur should be imaged. As I have told you, almost 20% of the fracture shaft of the femur, they are associated with fracture neck of the femur. So the chances of missing the fracture in the fracture shaft of the femur are very high. So it is a rule that when there is a fracture shaft of the femur, of course which cannot be missed, when there is a fracture shaft of the femur, then the chances of missing the fracture neck of the femur are very high. So when there is a fracture shaft of the femur, then along with the shaft of the femur, we have to get the X-ray of the hip. So MRI has become imaging study choice to evaluate occult fracture. Sometimes there can be some old fractures or missed fracture. For that you can get MRI, CT scan, or you sometimes PET scan or radio resonance study, and all these things can be done to find out if there is any occult fracture or there is any missed fracture. Okay. Otherwise there is not much role of MRI, CT and other radionuclide study. Just simple by the X-ray is the standard for diagnosing fracture neck of the femur. So next come to the treatment. So treatment, as all of you know, first is the general treatment. When the patient comes to us with the suspected is a fracture neck of femur, the general treatment that you give, of course, you give some analgesic to the patient so that there is no pain, to relieve the pain. Then you give some traction, some supplantage. You can give below knee skin traction. You can give Thomas, whatever is available with you. So just because since it is an intracapsular fracture, just simple below knee skin traction is sufficient to make the limb comfortable and lie in anatomical position. Otherwise, it will have a tendency to go into external rotation. So we have to keep the limb in align while giving skin traction and making the patient comfortable while giving some analgesic. And then you plan the treatment. So the treatment can be of 2 types. There is a non-operative and operative. So for treatment point of view, the non-operative treatment in fracture neck of the femur is not very common, is not very famous, except for us, except non-operative treatment only, except in cases where you suspect a old fracture neck of the femur, where it is 3 weeks, 4 weeks old, 5 weeks old, the fracture is impacted, patient is coming walking to you, and patient is able to raise the straight leg. We are doing this screening test. Patient is able to straight leg in the OPD while examining the patient, and patient is comfortable, there is no pain, then and you think it is not displaced, then you can think of non-operative treatment. Otherwise, all other fracture neck of the femur, they are to be operated. So operation is the treatment of choice, whether we can say, for fracture neck of the femur. So non-operative treatment considered in some patients who are non-ambulous, but still it is controversial. It is given in literature, but still it is controversial. Have minimum pain, as I have told you. This is the point which I have disclaimed. Minimum pain, impacted old neck fracture. There you can think of this non-operative treatment. High risk for surgical intervention. Until unless there is a very high, there is a life-threatening conditions to the patient. If your anesthetic say that the life is at risk, if you want to still operate, then you can say that I will go with non-operative treatment. Otherwise, the operative treatment. Operative treatment, now, it is first of all, when you treat a fracture, as is the rule, you have to reduce the fracture. So whenever you have to reduce the fracture, there are two techniques of reducing the fracture. One is the close reduction and other is the open reduction. So close reduction, here, as all of you know, close reduction is done on the fracture table. Patient is subjected for surgery. Patient is taken on fracture table under C-arm. You have to closely reduce that fracture neck of the femur. There are different techniques of reducing the fracture neck of the femur, not going into detail. There are different techniques, flexion type, extension type, there are different names, Whitman's, Leadbetter technique, etc., etc. But ultimately, your aim is to reduce the fracture. So attempt should not be, what is the precaution that we should take by reducing close? That is, attempt should not be forceful, should not be repeated more than 2 or 3 times. Once the reduction has been attempted, the angulation and alignment must be critically evaluated. This is the most important thing. That is the Gardner's alignment index that we follow to see whether your reduction is acceptable or not. That we have to see after doing close reduction on the fracture table under C-arm. This Gardner's alignment index is done under C-arm. Gardner alignment index it is an X-ray on AP image. That is the angle between medial shaft and the central axis of the medial compression trabecular, and should measure between 160 and 180 degree. If it is less than 180 degree, it is invalid, should not be accepted. If it is more than 180 degree, it is invalid. So this is the diagrammatic presentation of the Gardner alignment index. So this is the you can see the alignment. Gardner alignment is on lateral view. So the treatment, then if your reduction is not acceptable, as per your Gardner's alignment index, then you have to open the fracture. You should not hesitate in opening the fracture. You open the fracture. What are indications for opening the fracture? Displaced fracture in young or physiologically young patient age less than 65-year age, low energy fracture in elderly, age 60 to 85, open reduction, internal fixation for Gardner type 1 and term veteran, physiologically young patient. So ultimately, when you should open the fracture for ORIF is that when there is not acceptable reduction. So how do you fix it? So once you have achieved the reduction, whether by close or by open, you have to fix it with the cannulated screw fixation. That is, the indication for fixation is non-displaced transcervical fracture, displaced cervical fracture in young patient after doing reduction. Achieve reduction with the vascular insult. Reduction must be anatomical. The most important is the reduction must be anatomical and if open, if necessary. Otherwise, close reduction. So 3 partially threaded screw can be inserted in inverted triangle. This is how we put the screws. Not going into detail. Sometimes we need to put 4 screws. If there is significant combination is present, then you may need to put 4 screws also. So fixation of neck of the femur. That is, extreme care must be taken in placement of the screw. Then is fixed with an apex. This is not, I'm not going to detail. It is how do we fix the fracture. Then other way is sliding hip screw. That is you can fix it with this also. Then is this is how sliding hip screw. And the last is arthroplasty. Sometimes we need to do arthroplasty in fracture neck of the femur. So when should we do fracture arthroplasty? Age. Less than 65-year-old, less than 65-year-old age should be treated with anatomical reduction and stable internal fixation. Up to 65 years of age, no arthroplasty, should be fixed with internal fixation. Then if the fracture is displaced, femoral neck fracture in older patient should be treated if the patient is more than 65 years of age and fracture is displaced, that is type 3 and type 4, then we can think of doing arthroplasty in this patient. So arthroplasty can be debilitated patient with metabolic bone disease. So it can be total hip arthroplasty or it can be bipolar, that is hemiarthroplasty. So in total hip arthroplasty, elderly patient, older patient, more than 65 years of age, who are active patients, arthroplasty for type 3 and type 4. Okay, then we can think of doing arthroplasty in those patients 65 to 70, age group 65 to 70, maybe 75. If the patient is active, then you can do we can do total hip arthroplasty because it lasts longer than hemiarthroplasty. Then is benefits of total hip arthroplasty over hemi: improved ambulation, lower reoperation, and disadvantage of total hip arthroplasty is there is high dislocation rate as compared to hemiarthroplasty. So in the last we come to the complication of fractured neck femur as well as open reduction and internal fixation. So complication of fractured neck femur, all of you know, is avascular necrosis, head of the femur, then is the non-union, then is the osteoarthritis. So why there is a non-union? First of all, let's see why there is a non-union in fractured neck of the femur. Because it is an intracapsular fracture. You know the intracapsular fracture, there is no periosteum, there is no callus formation. It is an intracapsular, there is a synovial fluid which prevents the callus formation. Okay. So there are so many things, and it causes non-union because of the compromised blood supply. Typical blood supply head of the femur of the fracture. If there is a fracture, there is a disruption in the blood supply. So all these factors will lead to non-union. Then the non-union can also occur after open reduction internal fixation, that we will discuss in the next slide. The other complication can be osteonecrosis, that is avascular necrosis of head of the femur can also occur. The incidence is very high, non-union and avascular necrosis. Incidence is up to 30% in stage 3 and stage 4 fracture of the Gardens. And there can be a fixation failure. If you have done ORIF, there can be fixation failure. The screw failure can be there. There can be dislocation, there can be mortality. So non-union incidence is very high, as I told you, up to 30%. Increased incidence in displaced fracture. So treatment, then you have to manage the non-union accordingly. That will depend upon the age of the patient. In young age patient, you can still preserve the head by doing vascularized fibular graft or intertrochanteric valgus osteotomy. Or in elderly patient, you have to go do the arthroplasty. Similarly, osteonecrosis, I have told you, up to 30% incidence. Then is the treatment is guided by symptom early, without X-ray changes, protect weight bearing or possible core decompression. Avian. In avian, if it is post-traumatic fracture, chances of the role of core decompression is still debatable. But if there is an elderly patient, you have to go for the arthroplasty. Patient may be treated with osteotomy or arthrodesis or arthroplasty. So fixation failure, it is usually related to osteoporotic or bone or technical problems. That is, if there is not proper, there is a malreduction, there is a poor implant insertion. Some technical problems can be there which can lead to the fixation failure. So the treatment of that fixation failure may be treated with attempted repeated. If you think that your fixation failure is because of because of malreduction, you may again repeat the reduction by opening the fracture and doing internal fixation, or you may proceed with the prosthetic replacement. That will depend. The dislocation, the higher rate of dislocation with total arthroplasty as compared to bipolar. So that's why in fracture neck of the femur, if the acetabulum is intact, there is no other problem to the patient preoperatively, then we go for bipolar. Except for active patient who are very physiologically active patient, you should go for total hip arthroplasty because longevity of the total hip arthroplasty is more than the hemiarthroplasty. So about 7 times higher than hemiarthroplasty. This is dislocation is rate, but still it will depend. So mortality. So pre-injury mobility is the most significant determinant for post-operative survival. So this is a very important point that we have to ask from the patient when we are operating. What was his pre-injury status? If the patient is pre-injury or pre-injury status is not good, then the chances of mortality are high post-operative. In patient with chronic renal failure, rates mortalities 2 years post-operatively are close to 45%. So you have to see the pre-injury morbidity status is very important in the patient. Thank you.